Been running that chainsaw, have you?
Not recently.
Really?
I gotta get on it.
Now,
Winter's coming on.
when it's 54 degrees in the morning, that's a good time.
47.
Wow.
We have
Wow, that's
That
been a
whole
hot
window.
spot.
Putting on all my sweaters in the morning. Don't turn the heat on.
I did, like yesterday after work, I'm like, wow, it's like 71 degrees, it's fairly dry. I grabbed the chainsaw and went out.
Yeah.
It's way better than 95 and 90% humidity.
No kidding.
I couldn't even stand outside, never mind doing
I'd
it.
take this all year round. I'd take this all year round.
Yeah. Well, it's like September and October, my favorite months.
Yeah. Definitely autumn.
I'm good, thanks. I picked up my chicks today. It was exciting. Raised my
Okay.
meat birds.
You birds?
Yeah, what do you?
Yeah, birds.
Public hearing for the tax abatement request. It's a abatement hearing, procedural outline. Are both parties here?
Yes.
Okay. And I just want to thank both parties for coming. The board will hear the case and consider testimony from both parties before rendering a decision to either grant or deny the abatement of taxes. Some ground rules. Each party has up to 20 minutes to present their side of the case. Plaintiff goes first, then the defendant. The commission asks the plaintiff and the defendant if they have any additional evidence or witness testimony they would like to consider. Note there's a deadline for getting in written evidence for both parties who agree to submit additional evidence at the hearing, and they may do so only if they both agree. Each party will be afforded 5 minutes for a closing argument after their initial testimony, and the commission will provide a written decision within 30 days of the hearing. So we now begin the tax appeal between L. Daniel Flynn and the town of Emden. The burden of proof is on the taxpayer to meet a two-pronged test set out by the court as follows. The taxpayer must present credible evidence to the commissioners that the town's evaluation is manifestly wrong. The taxpayer must also prove that the tax assessment is more than 10% higher than the fair market value of the property. The taxpayer should be prepared to submit evidence regarding the value of their property. So I would like to ask the plaintiff to come to the table first to present the case. Mr. Flynn?
I can barely hear you.
Mr. Flynn?
Yes.
Is that? Let me get this closer.
You weren't getting any of that.
Okay. So you have 20 minutes, and then town of Emden will have 20 minutes, and then you'll each have 5 minutes to close after those initial testimonies. So, and you begin first, sir.
I'm sorry.
You begin first.
Thank you. Am I ready?
Your 20 minutes begins now.
I'd like to read from the Maine Assessment Manual. It says that equity is the cardinal principle in the assessment process, and the establishment of a proportionate, equitable valuation is the end to which the means are directed. And what I'd like to address is really, there's a whole bunch of things that are in my booklet. I'm sure you all had a chance to read it and put you to sleep probably. But one is the overassessment of the properties on Hancock Pond. We're basically in Appalachia over there as compared to the other side of town. I put some pictures and photographs in the book of the different roads on the other side of town. We have no road maintenance, no services. At our particular location, there's no power. We don't have a well, and yet we're assessed at over $13,000 more than the town, than Emden Pond that has all of those amenities. So we feel that we're being discriminated against based on that. We're like a cash cow for the town. The second issue is on the assessment for our property. Everything is supposed to be equal, and I would like to draw your attention. Do they have the new revised, the Cs that Shirley did?
Yes, if you're, the revised
Yes.
2021, 22 valuation bureau product. So that should be in their packets from what Shirley brought.
Okay, it was not, the new revisions are not in my packet. What we're contesting is that the base value that's used as the basis for every other computation on the valuation report is not equal. And I don't know if, should we give them those or not?
You have those copies.
Pretty close. What I did was I broke out on the comps that are in the back of the book, I broke out all those that are C. We were originally B 100, and we've since been revised to a C. And as I understand it, the base amount is based on a model for a particular home. 1.5 story, 1 3/4 story, 2 story, whatever the square foot area is. That's what that, it doesn't take into consideration where it's located or any of the other amenities or the existing buildings that are around it. And when on ours, let's take the one for 2021, the base for our assessment is $305,583. $305,583. It's also got us listed as a 2-story. We're a 1 3/4 story, and it's a log, not a post and beam. The other correction that should have been made, I met with the assessor a year ago. We have 1 bath and a half bath. So the base on that particular assessment is $305,000 and change. On the paper that I just sent out, I pulled out the Cs, the properties are graded as a C, and you can see that the base amounts for those properties that are not exactly the same, but they're pretty close, range from the high of 204,000 down to like 118,000. Our starting point is 347,000. I can't see the equity in that. Then you take it a step further, and if you look at the evaluation report, down in the lower left corner, you have the SFLA. It's a square foot living area for that particular building. And what they do is they divide that number, the square footage, into the value for the reconciled new less depreciation number. And they come out with an average for the square foot taxation for the property. The right-hand column on the paper that we just sent out, I did an average of the square foot, and it's $66.50. Ours is assessed at $123.33. And it goes on from there. And what they say in the manual is, if the base is wrong, everything that follows is wrong. The other issue I'd like to bring up is the fact that in the bottom of it, they have evaluations for the functional obsolescence and the economic obsolescence. The assessor obviously isn't doing any of that. On this particular page, they're at 100% each. In the booklet I handed out last week, there's a page in there that lists both the functional obsolescence items and the economic obsolescence items that should lower that RC, the RN of the RCNLD amount substantially, but it's not being done.
Can you cite a page number?
I'm sorry?
Where are you?
It's going to be 7, I think. Nope, 8.
8.
Right after 8. Oh, damn it. I'm sorry, it's number 14. Functional obsolescence deals with a lack of features and utilities. Our property doesn't have a well, and it doesn't have power. And if you read that page, you can see all the other items that I've listed. But more importantly is the economic obsolescence, which is the effect of the location on the value. 5 major factors: the neighborhood, the accessibility, utilities, and services. We are the least accessible, maybe second least accessible neighborhood in the town. Again, we don't have any utilities. When we met with the assessor last year, the code enforcement officer ruled that we have access to electricity even though the nearest power pole is about 800 feet away. The law reads it's either present and available or it's neither. And the measurement of services must be based on the best available services provided in the town. Again, we get 0 services. They don't plow the roads. We're in, again, Appalachia. My contention is that we're being assessed unequally based on other properties in the town, number 1. And we get no services from the town. And the property's not being graded. It's not being graded for basically anything. And right now, it's assessed at $509,000 for a log home, beautiful log home, no question about it. 0.3 acres on a pond that's with 3 miles from a tarred road. It's just not equitable. That's my contention. Any questions?
Not at the moment. Perhaps after I've heard from,
There'll be a quiz, though.
there's always a quiz. Always a quiz.
I do have one question. Do you have a generator there?
We have a Harbor Freight, yeah.
And you have a pipe into the pond for water?
We do use that for the toilets.
Okay.
But there's no
Nothing
drinking water.
drinking, no.
No.
But you have a septic.
Yes. The septic was there before the old cabin burned down. All we wanted is to be equitable, and I can't see it as even being close.
Thank you.
The water frontage, the feet of water frontage that you have?
I think it's 100, no, it's 90 feet, I think.
Okay, thank you.
90 feet, and that's another point. We're assessed 230, not our property because it's only 0.3 acres, but an acre on Hancock Pond in Emden is assessed at $213,000. There are 20 properties also on Hancock Pond that are in Lexington Township. They're assessed at $48,000. There are 3 other ponds in Emden. Emden Pond's assessed at $200,000, which is 13, and by the way, I apologize. These are last year's numbers. I've requested the file for this year. She's not delivered them to me yet. But last year it was $200,000 for Emden Pond, 48 and change for Fahey Pond and Sandy Pond, as compared to our $213,000 per waterfront acre. There's no equity there at all. And if you look in the book, at the back of the book, I think it's around 18, I've got pictures of the roads on their side of town and of our little road. That we're pulling people out of the ditch every once in a while. Anything else?
Gentlemen? We will hear from Shirley from Emden.
Shirley, you come in here.
Okay, I'm going to try to address Dan's concerns that he just mentioned. One is the difference in value on Hancock Pond and that it is more remote than some of the other areas of town. Some people prefer that. That's not always a negative in assessing. Some people prefer to be away and remote from paved roads and everything else. And let me see what else has. We don't actually have a sales on Hancock Pond, any recent sales, so it does make it a little hard to, zero in on values just on the pond. So, and in assessing, buildings are assessed the same no matter where they're located. The difference being for the different areas is in the land value. So that shows different assessed values for different areas of town, but the building itself is the same everywhere. And he talks about the base amounts varying. They always vary because there are a lot of different components in each building, like the square footage, how many stories, what roof material they have, how many bathrooms. There are all kinds of factors that make that different. And I do believe what he was looking at, where he saw the square foot price, is just on the outbuildings, not on the home. If it's down at the bottom, it's just on the outbuildings, right here. He was in
Which
dividing
page
it.
is that, Tim?
Okay.
It's on any number of evaluation reports.
Okay, that's a square feet, so, right here. The square foot price, because he was like this right here, square foot price for the building. This, I believe, is just on the outbuilding section.
We actually backed into that. So
Okay.
if you take the square foot and you multiply it by 1.5 for 1.5 stories,
Okay.
you get a larger number of square feet. This right here, 1556.
Okay,
You divide that into the base building price, and that's how
Okay.
you get that
so
$65.
he did it by this right here, that included outbuildings. Okay, so I understand that. But it's not a good measure. In my opinion, what we should look at is the grading, which he did have a question on the grading, and the condition of the building. I'll also address the economic factor that he saw in there, where it said 115%. As you know, all the towns have raised values to keep up with market value, and we go in and we went in and put a factor on, which I've done in a number of other towns, and that's where it shows up. We don't like seeing it there, but that's where it shows up. Next year, we're redoing our cost files to calculate properly, which is a lot bigger job. It's not a quick fix like going in and factoring. And when we do that, that will not show up in that economic factor. But that's what it is, and that's why it shows up there for this year. And let me see what else I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. I guess I don't have a lot more to add, other than answering, his concerns, which I don't believe with a B grade, a B100, I don't believe that's too high for his grade. And we look at, he does have the ability to tap into electricity if he wants. He chooses a generator, so he has provided electricity. And water, he does have a supply of water.
Is there electricity running by the,
Well, he
The-
said,
the
and I
building?
believe it's true, it's 800 feet away, so he could.
but isn't that a cost factor in bringing in a pole?
It is, yes,
So there's that issue too.
yes, yes.
When you say 800 feet away, is
I-
that on the road, is it an 800-foot driveway from the main road, or?
No, it would be on the road, I believe, and Dan can answer that. It would be on the road.
So where does the 800 feet, I'm just trying to picture the 800 feet.
Okay.
Is he 800 feet from the road? That's why it would be 800 feet to the building?
No,
It's
I'm sorry, it's her turn.
Oh, okay. It's on the road, but his property is right on the road as well, but it's just not in to his property.
If I may,
Is that-
the road that you come in on, which I think is our Second Street, it comes in like this, and there's power poles all down that road, and then you take a right to go to his place, and I believe it's about 800 feet.
So it'd have to go through the woods, not down the
No,
driveway?
there's a road down there to his place.
Is that a private road or a public road?
They're all-
They're all private.
I'm just trying
Yeah.
to figure cost at 800 feet, so.
Yes.
2, 3 poles. There's a lot of poles in 800 feet.
So, when you provided us your letter of information, you also provided a new set of figures.
Yes.
Can you explain those set of figures?
Yes, those are, I think you're talking about the sales analysis.
Well, I'm actually talking about your abatement
Oh,
that
the
you
regrading.
proposed. That
Yes.
you proposed.
Okay. I would be willing to, I'm okay with the grade 4. I would be willing to go to the grade C110
Yeah.
because of the factors that he doesn't have water or electricity. So I would be willing to do that.
So, and I noticed that you had proposed a reduction from 5097 to 4652.
Yes.
Okay.
440.
Was Mr. Fleur aware of that proposal?
Yes. Pardon?
Were you aware of that proposal, Mr.
Yes.
Flynn?
I just got an email, yeah.
Is that acceptable?
Sorry.
No, it's all right, will be the commissioner's decision ultimately. Yes, sir.
I had some questions. First of all, your name went by too fast for me. Can you tell me your name again?
Shirley Bartlett.
And Shirley, what's your deal here? You do this for a number of different towns, or you?
Yes, I do.
What is the nature of your business?
I'm a tax assessor.
But is that like Shirley Bartlett, tax assessor?
It's Bartlett Assessing Services.
Okay. And
Incorporated.
how many towns do you assess?
I work in 7 ongoing, doing their yearly work, and I also do revaluations for towns.
And are those primarily in Somerset County?
No.
So
they're-
spread out all over?
Yes,
And assuming you have training and assessing and all that as
Yes.
part of that, of course.
She's doing it, so.
So, maybe this question should be addressed to Tim, but is there a map somewhere in here of this area? I don't think there is.
Inside the front cover. It's not a very good
Yeah,
map.
there is like an aerial satellite view.
Okay. Well, I actually Googled it up on my phone, which is a really better map, I guess, but I thought, does 20 Boxbury Drive, is that the last house on the
One
road?
more.
Okay.
22 left.
When you look at Google, what they identify as Boxbury is not Boxbury. I found that out when I went out there last week.
I've got a Second Street and it's,
You go all the way to the end of Second Street, and then there's a road that goes this way, and you can take a left or a right. And,
okay, I get it. Well,
It's
sort
it's
of,
very hard to identify off the map.
yes. But for example, the house next I'm just sort of curious about the neighborhood. Is there similar houses next to this particular house, or? I'm asking anybody, maybe,
In my opinion, no. This is by far the newest and the nicest.
okay.
The other one burned down, and we're forced to do something.
Yep.
All right, that helps me, thank you. Oh, look at my notes here. So as I understand it, Ms. Bartlett, you look at the house itself, the living part of the house, as the primary focus to determine its value, and you make adjustments based on square footage being a major factor, size,
Yes,
and then whether there's more than one story, and then quality of interior cabinets and all that good stuff. And you come out, it's a formula you apply to every building you look at, and you
Yes.
come out with different numbers based on that formula. Is that how it works?
that's correct.
And then, as far as the exterior, you know, I know, economic factors, like whether it's the quality of the landscape around it or other external factors, do those come into the equation as well?
Not as much for the building value, it does not.
But if you had one house that was on a rocky promontory overlooking the lake, and an identical house in the bottom of a gravel pit, they would have a different value.
They would have a different land value.
Yeah,
The
okay.
building value would be the
The
same.
building value would be the same? Okay.
Yes, but the land would be different.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have any further?
I don't,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Flynn, you have 5 minutes? And then Shirley, you'll have 5 minutes.
I'm going to get back to the base amount. I agree that that amount fluctuates based on how many rooms, bathrooms, things like that. I don't think, for instance, we took all the Cs and we averaged what their base amount was on this list that we handed out to you. And the average for the Cs is $156,989. Ours is $326,000. There's no equity there. In terms of the property, there is, under economic obsolescence, topography is supposed to be graded, and we have a nice marshy, in front of the house, very wet, you almost have to wear boots. It's supposed to be graded. She's not grading anything. I mean, you can look at the form. She's got us at 115%, even though if you look at the economic obsolescence and the functional obsolescence, that's supposed to be deducted from 100%. She's not doing it on our property. I don't see her doing it on anybody else's property. I refer back to number 18, which is a list of the co-ops, the comps rather, and their square foot living area comparisons. The average is $66 per square foot, and that's probably the most honest way to look at what the house is being assessed at. They've got all the calculations to confuse you on the cards, so nobody can figure it out what it's supposed to be. That seems to me to be the most realistic way to determine what it's being taxed, or what it's being assessed, rather. We're at $140 a square foot, and the average is 66.
Okay. John?
Well, I have two questions. The average of what is 66?
Taking the square foot on the sheet that I gave you.
Of the buildings that you've listed on the sheet?
Yes. If I
And
take,
these buildings all appear to be graded as a C, and yours is a D.
no, I'm sorry. She's changed that. We're a C.
And
I see down the bottom. Okay, let me explain.
Yeah, you've got a B on the bottom.
We were a B, and she just changed us to a C. So let's use the one that we just got. it's 2002. 2001, our base is $305,000. Yes, it did come down, but it's still way above the average of the other properties. Granted, this is just a sample, and it's not, it might differ if you do the whole town. In terms, well, I think we've resolved the electricity, we don't have to talk about that. It's a public road, we pay privately to have it maintained. The town of Emden doesn't even know we're there.
Can I point, is this a town road or not?
It's not a town road, it's a public right of way, but it's not a town.
Do you have a road association that tends to the road?
Yes. Finally, I'd like to draw your attention, not finally, almost finally, draw your attention, I mean, there are so many discrepancies that I've found. I've been doing this for 18 months, as Shirley can attest.
Yes.
I want to just bring one item to your attention, and that's 1066 Emden Pond Road. And the roads are alphabetical in the back, so if you know, it starts with A. It's Terry.
So what page are you on?
It's 1066 Emden Pond Road. It's in the comps in the back. There's two items. It says on the sheet that the square foot living area cost is $53.38. But if you divide it, the 1,269 square feet into the RCNLD value, it's only $30.53. That's just an error I just wanted to point out. The other item that jumped out at me on this is that the house it's got a deduction for heat and a deduction for plumbing. And it's a year-round house. It's the former assessor, now the code enforcement officer. Doesn't look right to me, but I have nothing further to say about that. And finally, this is fine. This is the annual report for the town of Emden. Beautiful. The only mention that Hancock Pond has it is the photo credit for the front cover. Other than that, we're the cash cow with no services. And as an old friend of mine used to say, other than that, I have no strong opinions.
Ms. Bartlett?
Okay, to address, his concerns again on that square foot rate for each building.
Can you hop over onto
Oh,
the
sure.
mic over there?
Yes.
Just in case there's somebody watching, listening in,
Oh, okay.
they can hear you.
And as a point of order, if I may, there's some document that we're supposed to have that has new figures on it? Is that?
It's read in your package, it's this document.
Oh, okay. I just had no idea what it looks like, so.
So while you're looking at it, what Ms. Bartlett provided was if they regraded this property from a B100 to a C110, and she provided what that would do to the valuation for 22, 21, and 20.
Okay, I see that. Got that. Thank you.
Now, can we show them this? This is Hancock Pond, this is Joseph Quinn, and he has a similar building to Dan, and he's assessed at B100.
They don't have that.
Okay, okay. So,
I'd like to ask a question if I could.
yes.
So, could you roughly describe the difference between a B and a C and how you can justify changing like the way you did? I mean, other than, did you, part of it is, did you find some errors? Did you I mean, how do you justify that?
Okay. I did bring the assessment manual, so you can take a look at that, at the grading components.
While she's looking at that, if you turn to page 13 in Mr. Flynn's book, he used the manual as well to compile what he thought the grading should be. And that grading came out at a 3.3, which in assessing language translates to a C110.
That was clear as mud.
But on that,
I'm sure it was very accurate.
but on that page, it identifies the
Right,
criteria
okay, gotcha.
that they would use to make that grade.
It does, and I don't know if you'd like to take a look at this or not, but it gives the components of each grade.
Right. Okay, so from there, so how are you able to justify moving something from what you first classified as a B to now a
Yes.
C?
Yes, based on what he had on his flooring is just basic flooring, so that would fall under a grade 3. And his kitchen cabinets, again, would fall under the grade 3, like he stated here. His electrical, you know, that's questionable. As far as what he has in there, he has solar down. Electrical and grading, I would probably consider more what's in the house for the size of the number of outlets and things like that. So I said, well, I guess based on what he had for information, I felt comfortable that I could go to the lower grade.
John?
You touched on something earlier, which is
Yes.
that somehow the quality of the lake, or sometimes the remoteness and some singularity of the property, can be an enhancement factor.
Yes.
Is there a formula or database or something you use to compute that in your overall assessment?
Not really. It's actually sales would tell us.
Okay.
We base everything on sales. If we had sales, which we don't have, that's what we're lacking for Hancock Pond. is we
So
don't
it's
have
not like,
sales.
if you had two ponds that were of similar size, but one was 2 feet deep, with motorboats scrolling all over it, you wouldn't, you don't have a, that's not sort of blacklisted in some way in your appraisal. Doesn't matter how, the quality of the lake or the remoteness of the property,
Well, it does.
except as reflected by home sales.
Yeah, and it depends on what people are willing to pay for the properties
Yeah.
on a better lake. So that's what it all goes back to, is sales. And I do have some towns that have 2 or 3 lakes. Some are smaller. And some, you know, we have, one town I do has 1 large lake and 3 smaller ones. Well, the 3 smaller lakes do not hold the value that the bigger lake does.
But it's solely, the only way you evaluate lakes is by sales,
Yes,
not any other way.
no. Oh, well, we do, if someone had a lot that was really swampy or something, I would give it a discount. Or if it's real rocky or unusable frontage, then I would give it just that particular lot a discount.
But that's not because of the remoteness of the lake.
No, some people prefer that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So it sounds like in some of these cases, it's basically your personal assessment as compared to square footage or, you know, they're $40,000 cabinets compared to $10,000. Some of these things are just your personal opinion, basically,
Yes.
as a professional.
Yes, that's correct. And as far as like that square foot price per building, it's different for every building, because they all have different components. So it's not, in my opinion, a good measure of the value. I think to concentrate on the grade, which the grade is the quality of the building products used, and the condition of the property, and things like that are more important to, you know, take into consideration. Because I think you're never going to get the same square foot price on any property.
On your reevaluation, you've moved the land value from 117,000 to 134,000, which looks like a substantial jump. What precipitated that increase?
Sales, overall sales in the town. And what we did, which we've done in a lot of the towns because of the market for the last few years has kind of gone crazy, we've just raised values across the board. Next year in Emden, we're doing a more in-depth analysis of sales and readjusting cost files that will be more specific to different neighborhoods or areas of town. But I think to keep up with everything, you know, all the towns have been just doing an across-the-board increase.
Okay.
When was that, the change in land value that the chair just asked about, when was that, without me trying to find it, when did that happen? When was that increase?
That, I've just done that work, and it takes effect for this year's commitments that will come out this year.
Excuse me, I think what you're referring to was the 15% increase that took place between 21 and 22.
Yeah, okay.
Now what you're referring to is another increase that's going to take place in 23.
Yes,
Okay, and that's based on sales?
yes.
Okay, so I'm missing something here, because within the last 3 minutes, you just said, we don't have sales to compare things to.
We do not.
What am I missing?
We do not have sales on Hancock Pond. We have sales.
Specifically
throughout
Hancock
the-
Pond.
But not specifically to Hancock Pond.
Okay, thank you.
So are those sales compatible in terms of homes as versus his, I mean, just to get some understanding?
Okay.
You're basing it on sales?
Yes.
Right? So are you basing it on the value of homes sold, and are those homes sold comparable to his situation?
Yes, they are.
So when you say that, are you looking at an overall basis of sales, or?
Yes.
I know it gets really technical, excuse me, but if you look at page 2 or 3, I think, of what she provided, you have a, what's it called, a sheet that you turn into the state.
Sales
The
analysis.
sales analysis, and then there's a page that has 2 small, hard-to-read Excel spreadsheets on it.
Right.
That's the sales from 2020 and 2021 versus the value. And I think you'll see like 70% or 72% or something like that. My understanding is when we, as a town, turn that into the state, and the state says, oh, you're only valued at 70%, then we're going to hold back your revenue sharing, your state aid education, your homestead exemptions,
Right.
unless you raise values up. So when she makes this talk about mass appraisals, that's being done as kind of a shortcut to tell the state we are trying to get our values up. So basically, those are the sales in Emden that they have to go on.
And this is what I turned into the state of Maine for their approval for this year's commitment, so we could get 100% reimbursement on our homestead exemptions. And this goes in and they have to approve it. And it's based on 20 and 21 sales. It's about 2 years behind.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to, like, just one last thing. So if you have a half a dozen sales on Emden Pond, and those are your only, and Fayhigh Pond too, let's say,
Yes.
there's no sort of factor multiplier that you apply to those sales to sort of come out with a different valuation for houses on Hancock Pond. It's like, am I right on that?
Not if I don't have any sales on Hancock Pond, but I guess because I have sales town-wide, that's
Yeah.
what I have to use.
You're sort of extrapolating, though.
Yes.
In terms of values, because
Yes.
if camp property is selling for X amount of dollars on these 3 ponds, it's reasonable to assume that if camps were being sold on this other pond, they would achieve the same type of sales price, given overall economic and market conditions in the state of Maine.
Yes.
Am I right? Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or to either party? No, I was just asking the commissioners if there was any further questions to either party.
I have none, thank you.
Should I give them that?
Joel? Yes,
sir.
You still contemplating? Okay. So at this point, we can declare the hearing closed, and we'll get you an answer within 30 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and your assessments.
Thank you.
How do we decide?
Well, we just, they can stay, and I'll tell them what my overall assessment is of this. I think that they're both right, and of course both wrong, in the respect that I appreciate the reassessment from Ms. Bartlett that would provides $1,600 in a rebate to Mr. Flynn. But the 465, 200, to me, strikes me as being a little bit too high. And I would probably be looking at more of a, somewhere between 455 and 460, which isn't that much of a difference, but from what I've seen with these assessments and what I've seen for not realized sales, but asking prices online, it seems that that amount is more in line as an assessment than either the 465 or the 400,000.
Well, if I didn't know where, as far as our procedural outline goes, but we, as a 5-member commission, have to make a consensus decision about this, and that...
Yes.
So do we meet later to
We
do that?
can meet later.
Do we do that now? or-
Do it now?
I don't know how to do it. Tim, help us on this.
Yeah, I would,
What's your...
I really think it's up to the chair if you want to discuss it publicly now. It needs to be discussed publicly, so
Yes.
you either do it now or you put it on as an agenda item for the next meeting.
Right.
But while it's fresh in your mind, you could do it now.
And that's why I gave you, espoused my
Yeah.
opinion right off the bat. And I look forward to any corrections or other. And I wanted to do this now for me to say what I had to say while both people are here.
Well, I'll chip in my assessment, which is that I think it's really hard for me to second guess the appraisal, because being given a lot of information about other buildings, I'm not looking at them. I don't really, we have an assessor, an appraiser who looks at the cabinets and the roof of these particular buildings and makes assessments, and we're not doing that, so we can only kind of assess our comfort level with the expertise and reliability of the appraiser. Yet, on the other hand, as you have mentioned, it does seem like an awful high number that sticks out with from the comparison. So I appreciate the fact that there's been an adjustment of it. So I'm kind of where you are, I think. I guess are we supposed to see if there's something manifestly wrong, which can translate into something that's more than 10 to 15% out of whack with the other properties? And I don't think I've been persuaded with evidence that is the case, that somebody's, I don't have a clear picture I guess, in my mind, that this particular property that you own, sir, is 15 or 10% out of whack with other comparable properties. I don't have that, no one's persuaded me that that is so. I can't tell by looking at what I'm seeing now. That's where I'm at on that, so.
Joel?
I would prefer to take a little bit of time between the information that we just received this afternoon from these folks testifying in front of us and compare that to the materials that were given to us earlier to make a better assessment.
No?
So
Yeah.
a discussion at the next meeting or whatever the chair decides would be my preference.
Scott?
I would agree with that. I mean, we need to have more overall
Yeah.
information and better information to make a decision.
I have a question for Ken. You said you went up there,
I did.
where that 800-foot pole is that property owned by this gentleman?
No.
Okay, so someone could build a house 300 feet down that road and attach onto the pole, which would bring that pole.
I
It's
don't,
all set up for electricity.
yeah, I don't know how feasible that is based on the lots that are already there, you know, shoreline zoning, all that stuff.
Okay.
So you just can't say, oh yeah, somebody can plop another
Right.
house in there.
Well, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because he's all set up for electricity, and I'm just wondering if he was waiting to piggyback onto another gentleman. No. So that's a choice too.
Right.
I just want have just a little bit more time to
I think
process this.
for us to take the time to digest is important,
Yeah.
Right.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes
I think
sense.
that's our
And that,
consensus.
you know, batting that around, just like what
Yeah.
Sip just said, was, yes, that's a choice, whether there's hard wire run to the building. But that's also a factor in if it was put up for sale, what a future or prospective buyer may say, this property isn't as valuable to me because I want full-time power and it's gonna cost me this much more. So there's a give and take there. It's not necessarily just choice, you know, whether it's drawing water from the lake. A prospective buyer is gonna go, well, I want a well, it's gonna cost me this much more, so I'm not willing to pay this much because I'm gonna add these things in to have what I want. So, anyway, those are discussions that I think we need to have.
But I think it's, I mean, if the house is covered with tar paper and with a tar paper roof, we don't look at it and say, well, if this guy just put better siding on it, it'd be worth a lot more money. It kind of is what it is, so I think the way it is, if there's no power there, there's,
No
the
power.
potential doesn't matter. But, yeah,
Yeah, one could argue that the sale price would be reflected in the lack of power and lack of well, as well. So there's,
Depending on the prospective buyer, the prospective buyer might like that. But anyway, that, I mean, the value is the value.
right, there's, the arguments are both ways,
Right.
but those are purchase and sale pitches,
and
more than anything else.
it's a problem too, because these days, we're all shocked and astounded sometimes by particular real estate transactions that take place these days. And I know people that have just slapped $1 million price tag on their house thinking they might get lucky.
And they did. 'cause
And
somebody-
sometimes they do,
Right.
and it's hard to juggle that with,
Oh, you see the sign on my house?
See the buying flip them.
So we will have a continuation of this at our next meeting.
Okay.
And that would be under a workshop, because
Yeah.
I don't know that we'll make a resolution at that time either. And I want to thank everybody for coming. Appreciate your time and your input. And you're welcome back in 2 weeks. So, Next on the agenda is the workshop to discuss E-line service options.
So, this is in regard to that fiber project that we began like over like a year ago.
Yeah, our black fiber?
Yes,
Yeah.
so in the budget, it was allocated in 800 and, right now it's like $873,000 for that fiber to interconnect jail and communication center. So because of the cost increases, right now the vendor is looking for like $1.2 million for the same work. It's over like 27 miles of fiber to connect to those two sites. So we're kind of looking for like other option, other solution. So we found like only one vendor as of today, Consolidated Communications. They offer to interconnect those two sites through the Madison central office. And that will be the monthly fee of, they give us two options for like 5-year term is $812.97, that's the monthly cost. Or for like 3-year term is $1,016. That's the regular ongoing monthly fee.
That's in lieu of spending $1.2 million?
Yeah.
Is there any quality difference, or?
No, it's really, will be good service from them too, because if something will happen to the fiber on the poles, they will have to fix it right away for us.
So for roughly $800 a month, we get the same
Same.
thing as what we would buy for 1.2 million?
Yes.
Not really the same. You have more capacity. You only get 1 gigabyte.
Yeah,
If you own the
right.
line, you could get.
Yeah, I would see the way that would be that.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, when you think about, maybe about capacity, yes. Because for this
Okay, his
price,
capacity
it's
is,
the speed on the fiber.
5-year?
I would do the 5-year, because then we can lock it in, we know what our budget is.
Or like 1 gigabit of the speed.
right,
When we will build our own, we can probably get like 10 or even more.
what do we need
Um,
for speed? Or
Because
for?
this will be utilized only as a backup, because right now we have the lanes between sites. This is only as a backup. So I think one gig will be sufficient for as a backup until they will fix the main broken lines if something will happen.
And is there an ability to upgrade if necessary?
Yes. Of course, there will be price increase, but
Sounds like a no-brainer.
to change that,
So-
to increase that.
So assume $1,000 a month is $12,000 a year.
Yes.
So for 3 years would be $36,000. That's what we're talking about, 3-year contract today?
Yeah, there's option for 3 or 5-year contract.
So I'm in favor of spending $36,000 instead of $1.2 million. I'm with you.
Seems like kind of.
I don't-
1.2 million is like 102 years at that rate or something like that.
Is there something we're missing here?
No, not really. No.
Well, we have a 5-year term at $812.95?
Yes.
And it does the same thing, but it's a 5-year term, and it's a lower price.
Yes, it's just, yeah.
So, now-
5 years is cheaper, yes. But this-
Please refresh me, what is a 1G E-line port as opposed to a 2G E-line EVC?
So basically, they assigning a port to each side, and that's the interface between two sides. So it's like 1 gigabit each
Okay.
side, but allocated virtual circuit, which has to be 2G.
Okay, so that's what these 3 amounts are, they add up to this?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's overall.
And that would be the overall cost for all of
That's
that,
monthly cost,
yeah.
yes.
So, the difference would be,
What's your recommendation?
I think for this price, I think that's good option, definitely.
but the 5 or the 3? I think the 5 is the better.
I would try with
3?
3, I
I
think.
would personally do the 3,
Three,
because the
yeah.
technology changes so
Well,
fast.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So within like a year or 2, 3, will be probably we can may have other options too. So.
All right. Okay.
That makes sense too. We don't want to
They both look good, yeah. All right. So do we want to have this on our agenda for next week, the next meeting, to make that decision? Are you ready to make a decision now?
Decision now, because I don't think we're going
Yeah.
to find out.
Yeah, my mind's not gonna change between now and
Okay.
then.
No, it makes
Fine.
sense.
All right, and our motion would be?
Motion to enter an agreement with Consolidated Communications for a 3-year term E-line service. Do I have the right numbers here? $1,016.22 per month?
Second.
Okay. All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Good.
Thank you.
There you go. We can move forward. Thank you. And then I have, continuing, is to discuss the request to extend the year-round seasonal maintenance to a portion of Hancock Pond Road.
I know you like maps.
Wow. I'm trying to figure out what this map is.
That's the loop that Pavel was talking about. This is what.
Okay.
This is what you would spend 1.3 million on. This is what you're spending 36,000
Okay,
on.
I love it. I knew there was-
Whoop-de-doo.
And you'll need this for the next workshop item.
Oh, thank you.
So, in your packet, you see this letter. Dave forwarded this to me. We received this letter from a resident at 636 Hancock Pond Road, which is in Lexington. And they are requesting that the county consider taking that portion of the road, about 900 feet from the Emden line up to just past where they live, to take it over for year-round winter maintenance. Right now, they have people that help, in the past, I should say, they've had people that help plow it, but this resident's concern, she's there year-round, is it's not sanded or salted. So I'll turn it over to Dave, who knows a little bit more about this, but
What's the name of that road?
Hancock Pond Road.
Hancock.
Pond Road.
Yeah.
And it's always been just summer maintenance, and when I first started back in 2003, the road was really rough, and it was kind of a mud hole on one end. We've upgraded the road a lot. We've done a lot of maintenance on it, so it's a really good road in summertime, but it's not something that we have ever plowed. It's been plowed by private individuals. There's been one person who's lived way out on the far end of the road attached to this. They're off the grid folks, and they have solar and everything under the sun. They used to plow it, but it's not really set up to be plowed, because we would have to do quite a bit of upgrading between culverts and ditching for us then to plow it. So you'd have quite a bit of expense that would tie into doing that. And she's only looking for the space in front of her, which is like a half a mile of road. But the road then goes all the way across about a mile, and then it takes a 90-degree turn and goes back down into Emden and gets to the other shore of Hancock Pond, and there's a bunch of seasonal folks in there. There's no other full-time residents except her. So this would be quite an expense we'd be doing for one person. So Phil has scoped out some of the estimated costs, and it's fairly prohibitive, so I would not be in favor of taking this over as a full-time maintenance. Our contractor who plows Lexington doesn't come anywhere near this part. This is the corner. You have to go down through New Portland and then over through Emden to get to this section of road. And the New Portland and the Emden parts of the Hancock Pond Road are plowed by a contractor that we're not involved with. It's Nunes, who actually lives in Lexington.
he plows that. So we would have to make another contract with him to see if he'd do another half mile of the road. And we'd have to build the turnaround section, which doesn't exist currently. So it doesn't seem to be, fiscally sound, but it's a decision by commissioners on this.
Can we get some details from this mysterious Phil person on the numbers that he put together?
He wants to know.
Speak right into the microphone.
Yeah, you want the microphone.
Young fella.
Whippersnapper. I don't think you have a problem hearing me, I have a problem hearing you. Okay.
I'll try to speak up.
There you go, good. Question?
So David said you did an assessment of what the build of the road would require to make this acceptable. One of my biggest questions is if we were to maintain this thing in the winter, based on my experience in the town of Canaan, mud season is a bigger problem than anything. So what would, in that situation, what sort of liability do we end up in that situation where if a emergency vehicle can't get through on a road that we're maintaining, did that come up in any of your assessment on the build of this road?
That road never was built. It was a camp road, still is a camp road. There is no base under it that would hold up a plow truck. At best, it's about 15 to 18 feet wide, and then it turns into about a 12-foot wide road with no ditches. It's not a road that you want to put a plow truck on, especially when spring comes, because mud runs in there and runs deep, and you're liable. What little conversation I had with the individual that was requesting this was her concern of getting a fire truck or an ambulance in there. And when I drove away from there, I said, you chose to live in here. That's something you need to take into. It's not, to bring that up to be plowable by a piece of equipment that you'd have to plow it. Number one, you got to get right away to get turned around. Somewhere the road ends and you got to turn around. You're going to have to buy some land, build a turnaround, and then you would spend anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 a mile just to bring it up to a reasonably good standard. And if you're going to get up, so if you're going to bring it up to a standard where you're not going to have to deal with mud, you can triple that number in a hurry. So,
Better than $500,000, roughly.
yeah, I'm not sure that the right-of-way of it is wide enough to do what you have to do to make it a plowable road.
Can I ask a question? The map, so does the county plow part of this Hancock Road in Lexington? Any of it? None of it?
No.
And does Emden plow the Hancock Pond Road south of the town line?
The Hancock Pond Road starts in New Portland.
Down here somewhere?
New Portland plows their section, and then it goes through Emden, and the map shows Emden comes to the Lexington-Emden town line, and Emden plows their section.
So they go right at the town line and then they stop?
Yes,
Okay, got it.
yes.
How much of a difference in the build of the road is there at that line?
Significant. Just in the width of the road. The width of the roadway drops dramatically.
So those other towns actually upgraded their road to be able to...
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yep.
I've heard enough. It's
Yep,
all for me.
I'm good. Yep.
And
That's all I need, thank
and
you.
both of those towns use contractors. They don't have public works facilities.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing all that work.
Thank you very much. You want to make a decision?
I'm ready to vote.
Looking for a motion.
I move to not accept the extended year-round seasonal maintenance of this portion of the Hancock Road.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Not to accept. Okay, we've done it. And now we have bids for the cruiser pickup for unorganized territory. Aha. 3 bids. Height Chevrolet.
You need one of these.
I know, that's all right, I got this. I don't have a fancy knife either. Heights Chevrolet. Agrees to furnish one 2024 Chevrolet 1500 crew cab with police pursuit package and meeting all other specifications to Somerset Sheriff's Department for the amount of $54,765. And that's Height Chevrolet, Height Chrysler, unfortunately, Height Chrysler is unable to meet the requested specs, so there's no bid at this time. So nothing from them.
They don't make the police package yet.
No bid for you. And then we have Height Ford Incorporated. Height Ford Inc. will provide one 2023 Ford F-150 Super Crew Cab police responder for the amount of $51,760. Unfortunately, we are unable to meet all specifications requested for comparable equipment and features when placed against the Chevrolet build options. Thank you again for your considering Height Ford. So, they did give a bid, but doesn't have the,
We're kind of limited on the Chevrolet.
Well, they kind of pushed it for this year.
Yeah, well,
Question. Why no bids from outside of Heights?
I don't know.
There's Chevrolet dealers all over the state, and for me, that's where we ought to start looking. Because I know we like to do local business, but if we can get better somewhere else and get the
They have
same
the option,
package.
they have the option.
Huh?
They have the option, they had
Yeah,
Pittsfield,
so
Waterville.
I'd like to see more bids from,
Have the bids gone out to more,
no, those are the only bids.
did they, when the bids were advertised, where did they go? How were they advertised?
They were just, when we put out a spec like we did on this vehicle, Chevrolet gave us 3 bids because they own 3 different manufacturers. And there's a reason why the sheriff has been doing business with Height Chevrolet, because of the service that we get from them is probably second to none for a lot of reasons that I could share with you guys offline. Probably more appropriately to share with you offline is why he does business with them. Local business, number 1. Number 2, is the service that we get. But there's a little bit more to it than that.
When do we vote on this?
I don't know if it's down in the agenda or not,
It is not, it's just a workshop.
just the workshop. Sometimes they get slipped in.
So how is the bid advertised? Is it,
It is.
okay.
How was that again? How was it, what was the question, what was the answer?
It wasn't. It wasn't. We went to a manufacturer and told them, here's the specs we need for a vehicle for UT. And Chevrolet Garage says, you know, they, obviously Height Family Dealerships owns all.
Oh, so this never went out for public bid?
No.
Oh, okay, this actually needs to go out to public bid.
Yeah.
You cannot,
That kind of money.
you can't do that.
All right.
It has to go out to public bid, so we have to put it out to public bid.
Right.
Local still gets some preference.
Well, and on top of that is the service part is important. I mean, we will spend more money driving a vehicle further away to get service and everything else. So, I mean, definitely factor that in.
Yeah, it's my understanding we get exceptional service from Heights. I don't know how much, I don't know what the urgency of this.
No, it's not that, it takes a while to get a vehicle, like the Ford, for example, you know, I can't get that vehicle they won't even stop production for 10 months. Wow. So right now, the Chevrolet, I'm hoping to get started this year, because I got a high mileage vehicle that the individual's driving right now. I'm getting ready to hire another deputy up there, and I don't even he doesn't have any vehicle. So I gotta get him something, and I don't have any vehicles to give him.
But you need a sort of rugged four-wheel drive vehicle.
Yeah, we don't use pickup trucks in patrol anymore. We're basically getting away from pickup trucks. The only reason we're getting rid of this one is because it's UT. He's gonna be towing trailers. We got a snowmobile and a snowmobile trailer. It's not a snowmobile trailer.
And
It's a
do we
huge
get any reimbursement for this, or do we, this all county taxpayers, or?
Yeah, no, this comes from UT funding.
Comes from state.
This is the UT,
So this is not,
it's still taxpayer.
I'm so hopeless on this, I apologize, but, so the $57,000 that we spend on this truck comes from,
UT taxpayer.
okay.
It's the UT budget, it doesn't hit the Maine county
Right.
budget, it's a separate budget the UT has.
Right.
That money is already appropriated, correct?
It is.
Yeah.
For two, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
So I guess my practical question is there any, I just don't understand. Have we done have we dropped the ball here and this should have gone out to?
this should have been out to bid.
And because of that, it has to, or can we waive that and just say, this sounds good to me, why don't we do it?
I thought we had talked about, they should all have bids over a certain dollar amount.
It has to go out to bid.
What is it, what is the expected timeframe? We put out the bid, how long do we have to wait before we make a decision?
Well, I think we could get the bid out and advertised, and it's just a matter of sending a letter with the specs to all the dealerships in the area, and more, including Pittsfield, which is in Somerset County, and there is a dealership there, and Newport and Bangor.
So I'm as new at this as John. So
The thing
is that normal operating procedure to specifically send out requests for bids to individual dealerships, or do we just do it in a public statement and it's their responsibility?
Both, actually. We do both.
Well, that sounds unusual to me. Are we required to call up Darlings and Bangor and say, give us a number on a truck? Or do we just have to put it in the paper that Somerset County is accepting bids for a police-style, whatever, pickup truck? Because it seems to me two very different things.
Right.
And based on the response we've been getting to boilers and other things, my guess is the response would be quite minimal. And if there were responses, my guess is that they would be this is because of the market forces, that the numbers are going to be pretty close, in which case, if it's a question of $1,000 difference, I would vote against buying a pickup truck from Bangor if we could get it from our local dealer in Skowhegan, because I think that would be not a real savings. So those are a lot of things to juggle at the same time, but if we have to put this out to bid, I say we just put it in the paper. If we don't get a response in 2 weeks, then we'll pull the trigger on this and call it good. That's my view.
And just to pile on that is, at that point in time, it is it's public, it's clear, we're putting it out for everybody to bid, not just a select few, so I think we cover all those important bases.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we had put it out for public bid, publicly, newspaper, our website, et cetera, for the public knows this, but we've also sent out letters to dealerships, because when we've done it as a simple public notice, we have not gotten responses.
No.
And that's what has precipitated this letter writing scheme.
Okay, so moving forward on this particular project, we're gonna do exactly what you just said then. We're gonna put it out there to the public and send letters to all
Send a
these.
letter to all, just the same
How
letter.
quickly can we do that?
You have the specs, right?
I have the specs right here in front of
That's
me.
right there.
Okay,
We can do it tomorrow.
Got the cover letter, boom, whatever.
because I don't, you know, I don't want to delay this process, but at the same time, we need to be
We need to be
open and transparent.
So the second part of what you're saying in terms of sending those letters out isn't necessarily something we have to do.
No.
It's not policy. The public notification is the policy.
Yes.
I would want clarification on that, because
Yeah.
in my 3 weeks, I've found 4 different purchasing policies.
Okay.
And so the consistency is the issue.
Right.
And we've done things, and this happens everywhere, where you have a policy and then you have your practice. And you either have to adjust your practice to match your policy, or adjust your policy to meet your practice. So in this case, I've seen where it's, the policy in writing simply stops at, must be put out to bid. It doesn't give clarification on advertisements or websites or letters or anything like that. So what's written in policy and what the commissioners want are 2 different things right now. But I have no problem, and I don't know if, I'm not speaking for you, Chief, I have no problem putting that out and emailing it out with the specs and letter to a variety of places tomorrow.
So let me, so you're the one that, you've read all over these multiple policies. When it pertains to this particular type of project, what is the written policy?
For this particular project, there needs to be multiple bids. And it's left there, that the department head will get multiple bids. And so I guess past practice has been maybe multiple bids from a local dealer on different type of products, but I certainly can understand where you're saying multiple bids on the same product. And in this case, you want to be careful, because you already opened one of these in a public meeting, and so if another Chevy dealer is savvy enough to watch this meeting, he'll know exactly what he has to bid to come in under. So that, I mean, in this particular case, you may have stepped out a little too far, but I would certainly agree with you going forward, you might want to clarify what your intent is every time you put something.
Was there a dollar amount on
I
that?
think you also need to be careful.
Was there a dollar amount on
You're
what you
gonna
go out to
notify
bid?
a dealer.
It wasn't.
If you're gonna notify a dealer, you gotta notify
All of you.
all dealers.
Right.
That's why when I did the boiler, he literally mailed out
Yeah.
Well, to that,
65 letters.
Yeah.
but is there I know that there's a contractor's, if you've got a sheetrock job, it'll go out to there's sort of, there's a consortium of,
Yeah, they watch our website for any RFP we post.
yeah, there's somebody out there looking for this
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, there's a
And
book.
if we just put it out to that thing, we've certainly, I think, met our obligations. But just another point, was I out of line there by suggesting that we as commissioners don't have to always accept the low bid? If we have reasons to
No, you're not on line at all.
justify.
No, that's right.
We can accept any bid we want.
So just the fact that somebody comes in $5 lower than the bid we opened doesn't,
There is some language in one of your policies that states that you have to have, that to accept a bid that's not the lowest bid, it has to make sense. There has to be some criteria around it.
well, hopefully we do that for time.
Well, like, service is absolutely number one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when it's breaking down in T4, R15, or whatever it's going to be.
So considering the points that Tim brought up as far as especially opening this, that completely makes sense now. I think we may have gone into the process too far to reverse course.
No. We've rejected bids before.
No, we can send it back to.
Send it back.
Hey, Chevrolet for a rebid.
Okay.
We can go back to everybody for a rebid.
Okay. And then the other piece is, this sort of highlights some of the things that we've been dealing with over the last several months as far as, and there's a lot to do, but start digging through these things as they come up and make the changes necessary.
Right.
Hopefully before they come out.
Well, I mean, if you can catch them in time, but I mean,
Right.
I can't even imagine how many.
Well, our bid
Things like
policy
that.
really needs to be clear and transparent.
Yeah. But as far as heights goes, we're not telling them we rejected their bid, we're just saying
No, it should be rebid.
deferring decision on this pending.
We're actually rejecting the bid because we're going to put it.
We're not accepting it, we're not rejecting it, we're not really acting on it because we've decided that our process is flawed and we need to fix it by publishing a request for proposals from a broader pool of potential car dealers. So we're just pausing.
Right.
So,
I don't know if this makes a difference,
I
but
do have a question regarding that, and it just thinking about the service piece, is that if we do go outside and we get a lower bid, say it's $10,000 lower or whatever, it's not gonna be, it's probably gonna be within 800 or 1,000. Height is not likely to service that vehicle for us the way that he services them now. So this vehicle service would have to be from the dealership that we got the vehicle from.
Well, of course, under warranty,
Well,
Walton still,
well, I mean, yeah, so,
his service department.
well, as I'm fond of saying we should jump off that bridge when we get to it, but I agree with you that service is a component that we should definitely take into account when we make a final decision on this.
Right.
It's a big factor.
But the process has to be fair.
Yeah.
And it was not an advertised process, so, or publicized process.
So we can try to meet that criteria as soon as tomorrow.
Yeah,
The chief emails me the specs, I can get them to Bob L and get them on the website.
Rochelle.
right.
Rochelle.
And can they submit proposals by our next, can they,
I'm not adding one more thing.
there's no reason why they could not submit proposals before our next meeting?
There is no reason they can't do that.
Right.
They can do that.
Yeah, I mean,
And if they don't, then they don't.
they don't.
Right.
We did, we did the part that we needed to do, and
Well, yeah, we've done our due diligence, our transparency, what we have to do. So, okay. Moving along. New agenda items, commissioners only. John, Joel, Scott?
just wanna make sure we get that presentation for the St. Albans Fire Department on the agenda for next meeting.
I already put it on there.
Huh?
I think I already put it
Right.
on there.
My other one is, I'm still a little bit, I'd like us to just really research more about our attorney situation and what kind of cost savings that we can come up with related to that as versus what we spend now. I'm the personal opinion that we don't need an attorney for everything we do.
You know, but here's the thing, I don't think we're there anymore.
Well, we may not be there anymore.
You're right, we're not there anymore.
There may be somewhere with Tim on board, then
Yeah, I
we can
feel,
always
He's
lead it.
gonna work with Patrick on that, but he's gonna be going on vacation for like a week and a half, so it won't probably be the next meeting, it'll be maybe the next one after that.
For what's that?
For that, those figures.
Oh, okay.
Patrick's gonna be on vacation, so.
I just want to see where we're at, and if we can cost save there, because we spend a boatload of money per year with this guy, and I don't think it's necessary, so.
We're of one mind, brother.
Huh?
We're of one mind.
Yes.
I don't think it was based on the attorney. I think it was mostly based on what was coming out of the Somerset
Right,
County.
so if that's adjusting, then I think we're gonna probably.
And that's adjusting quite a bit,
So, I mean, but I just wanted to bring it up and see it, because we gotta.
And we need to do that anyway, because attorneys retire. So, huh?
Peter retired?
No, I think attorneys do retire.
Oh, yeah.
I was just looking at you because you retired.
I don't miss it a bit.
I figured when he
sure
got
they
back,
stay
I
the
would
same.
do that.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine.
So, continuing on with finance reporting.
FY 2023 is pretty close to final. I don't think the number's going to change much, so what you have in your packet is probably where we're going to end up. We do have the audit scheduled for another 2 weeks, but that's usually more formality than anything. Hopefully they don't find any issues any posting issues. So we ended basically where we thought we were going to end. so that's a good thing. I also put in there our current year-to-date, FY 2024 year-to-date at the end of July. It's kind of early in the year, you can't see trends or anything, so the right thing is going to see just timing, because I can't really predict how we're going to end at the end of the year with just 1 month of activities. One thing that is going to impact the jail with the new pricing from the feds, that wasn't in the budget, so that should have a positive impact of roughly $150,000. And unfortunately, we are still down on the headcount. There is quite a few in the pipeline, and we're going to get that up. But the first month, we saved $100,000 on labor costs. So we're trending in a favorable direction when it comes to the jail versus limited increase in revenue and savings. When it comes to the general funds, it's really too early to call. Do you have any questions?
Our deeds for last year,
Deeds revenue came in under budget, slightly under budget, but the savings in labor costs helped. So the deeds came in unfavorable total, $122.
yeah, I saw that.
So basically, I would say in line.
Yeah.
But the revenue was down. We was trending to be over 500,000. We ended the year at 480. So hope that this trend doesn't carry into FY 2024. Because we budgeted 450,000. If that trend holds up, we'll probably come in a little over 400,000. Hope the sales increase.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Administrator report.
Inventory update.
So in your packets, I included some bullet points, and I won't spend too much time on those, other than point number 2, and I think we just discussed this. I would like to recommend to the commissioners that if we're not overloaded with too many workshops, we start working in SOPs, policies, procedures into short, bite-sized workshops. And I was talking with the chair earlier today about maybe doing that with a charter review as well, just taking bites of it over the next couple of months, making some notes as to what things, come up and pursuing that. In your packets, you got the pass on the sprinkler system, which is a good thing. So it passed inspection. There are a few dozen gaskets that are seeping that need to be replaced, and we're getting a quote on that. But that's nowhere near the worst-case scenario. Those are just seeping back gaskets. So that allows the compressor project to move forward, and that the bids on the compressor are due next Friday, the 11th. Talked a lot about things I don't understand with Pavel. Been meeting regularly with Erica, Registry of Deeds. She gave me some things to pass along to you. Most notably probably is that the e-filing training is this coming Monday, the 7th. So they are very close to getting that online and making that a reality. Pavel has set some updates, and I don't want to take anything away from him, to get the new website, set some meetings on that. Julie Flynn at the Secretary of State's office got back to me earlier today in regards to the language on the ballot, November ballot, elected to appointed for Registry of Deeds. So she says you can add an effective date. And I think we also had an opinion from a Bernstein and Shore to confer that the effective date should be January 1st, 2024. So if people vote to change from elected to appointed at the Registry of Deeds, that will take effect January 1st, 2024. And we can put that language right on the tail end of the ballot question. Is everybody on the same page with that?
Yeah, so it doesn't move it up, the effective date is what the next election normally would be.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And from Bernstein and Shore, they confirmed that should be the date. So, and then the Secretary of State and the AG's office confirmed we can add that to the language. So we'll get that done ASAP.
So the date, just to review, the effective date of the new, if passed, will be January 1st, 2024.
Right. Right after the election.
Right.
The election, no, that would be,
If it passes to be appointed.
your point would be this coming January.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not the biennial election, it is this off-year election we're talking about.
Correct.
Yeah, because of the referendum.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's good.
So do we then have the question about whether the person recently appointed by the municipal caucus, Erica's term would terminate, if the ballot measure carries, her appointed term that we did 2 weeks ago would end then?
At that time.
And we would appoint someone?
Yes.
Because her or some other person?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Okay. And I think that's it for my report.
I got a question. If the ballot doesn't pass to have it appointed, what happens? Does Erica's position stay till
election.
So if
the next term?
if it doesn't pass, then people can take out papers in the summer of 2024 for that November election.
Actually, in the spring, because the deadline will be June.
Signatures have to be.
Okay.
in-
Yep.
January 1st, when you get your
You get your papers January 1st, so they have to bring them in June at some point.
And not to get too deep in the weeds, but I think whoever's elected at that election would serve for 2 years to get us back to the 4-year cycle, which is
Exactly.
2026.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Confusing.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Good.
Department heads, Pavel.
So as I mentioned, like we will have an initial meeting for the websites on August 22nd, so in like a few weeks. And the huge camera project and access control for jail, electrical contractors, we get a date from them. So they said they're gonna start in the mid of August, start working on the cabling. So within 2-3 weeks, they will start that project over there. So that's that 2 projects coming.
Questions for Pavel? All set? David?
Basically normal activities. I've been replacing missing road signs, addressing new constructions, and trying to solve the problem up to Lake Moxie Road and find someone to plow it this winter. I have to work with the forks who are shut down financially right now. And Caraton, we've got a meeting coming up next week we're gonna basically request that the DOT plow that road for us if we can work it out. That's kind of our goal right now.
Great, thank you. Chief?
He's been a little busy. We've had, last week, 438 calls for service. Our jail administrator, assistant jail administrator, both out of work right now. One of them's got a family emergency, and one is in the hospital. He hasn't been for a couple of weeks. So we're check on everything once in a while.
I can't quite hear you, Mike. Can you just,
Yeah, we'll get them. Jail administrator, assistant jail administrator out of work right now. One of them has a family emergency. They called him out of work, the other one's in the hospital. So we're running a little short-handed there. However, we're getting 5 names to give you today for corrections officer candidates. We've got 4 or 5 more on the loop. We're getting pretty close to 100% of 36 corrections officers. Not quite there yet, but we're working in that direction.
Beautiful.
excellent.
Yay.
And the sheriff right now is Southern Maine. Chief Bickmore, Fairfield PD, passed away.
Pittsfield.
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 Yeah. Fairfield PD, he passed away. And that's where he accepted this acknowledged.
Oh. Thank you. Erica?
I left mine with with Tim. I didn't think I was going to be here. I think.
Could you stand, please, so we can hear you?
Sure. We've learned a lot since we talked last. We continue to learn something new every day, right, Patrick? The e-filing training is set for Monday, and I'm really excited about that. We worked through it, some software glitches that when we had our computer or software upgrade, there were some glitches that we're still working through. And I have to say that our IT department is amazing. They're amazing guys. And so is Avenue. And that's about it. And it's nice to see you.
Thank you. Seeing no other department heads? HR, do you have a report? Unfinished business, seeing none, new business. Before we go on to new business, I have to take a few-minute break, excuse me. Be right back.
You're on standby.
Since these are all under the umbrella of Ohio, we should be able to do these all at once.
Make the motion. I'll second it. That was my idea. I like the way you're carrying the ball.
She did.
I think Tim's,
But I really have to leave by 5 o'clock, so.
well, here's the question, can you, where's the agenda?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's got it down, just do one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm,
Perfect.
He told me he was headed.
with the exception of the final one there, 23-169,
I didn't know his dad was in.
I don't know, because we got to deal with that in the executive session as well. But I think those all could be voted on at once.
No, that's an open session. That's an open session.
Right.
Why don't, so is there a candidate for the deeds clerk, or are we just sort of ordering it?
This is the hire.
I know there's a vacancy
I know
already.
he's
so-
pulling double duty.
I get it, okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, the clerk, that's right. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, that's what Mike said. So Mike said that, no lease credit, so we'll just let her handle it.
John, during that public hearing, I was thinking of what you said back on.
That's just, that's what's
Had people,
We gotta go back more, right?
and they choose it purposely for the
All right,
isolation.
well,
Yeah.
that's too bad, but.
Well, you know, people, oh, it's nowhere near worth that kind of money, you know, and I'm saying, I'll buy it for that. You know, afford something.
Well, the thing is, that's why I asked the question about if someone bought a property closer, they could have pulled up.
Yeah.
There's so many variables.
Yeah, well, there is way too many.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't, I mean, that seems like a lot, $500,000. It seems like a lot of money for a can.
But he's fully receptacle, plumbing's all in, everything.
Yeah, it's brand new
Okay,
built.
so that's not either, okay.
Okay, anyway.
We'll figure it out.
All right, new business, Resolution 23-166, to approve the hiring of full-time corrections officers for the Somerset County Jail. Joseph Boggs, Kimmy Miller, Kyle Frederick, Renan Woodworth, Venancio Martin, and Maynard Kemp.
Just one note, Mr. Chair, the jail administrator asked me to pull Mr. Martin, so it's only 5.
Oh.
You're making a motion on everyone except Mr. Martin.
Oh, okay,
So moved.
Okay.
discussion.
I like this new format.
Amen, brother.
Ignorance on my part.
I do too, thank you. Seeing no further comments?
So good.
All in favor? All right. Resolution 23-167, to approve the hiring of Craig Dyer as full-time patrol deputy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Go. Resolution 23-168, to award the bid for courthouse boiler replacement.
So moved.
And that bid would be, I'm going to let you do that since you talked to them.
Yeah.
It's going to be the,
It would be the Kinetic Energy System 2000 oil-fired boilers. And I went up to the shop and spoke with the estimator, and everything that we asked for is on here, and except for the thermostats. And he said that if there was any issues with any of the thermostats, because we had trouble last year, that they would come and take care of it for us.
could you make the motion before we have the discussion, please?
Well,
Make the motion?
Make the motion
To
to
accept
accept
the-
Bob's Cash Fuel,
Yeah.
the price of $66,406.
Second.
Thank you. Now, discussion.
Like I said, I went up there, we went through the whole process, and everything that he and I just discussed in the basement, they're gonna do.
Sip, how did, I know it's sort of apples and oranges, but the heat from those boilers, they go into these radiators, right?
Right.
Okay. And there's sort of thermostats on these things. And they've been here for 40 years.
No, these are, there's a little click-on thermostat on it.
Yeah.
That when the water goes through that, it gets to 160 degrees, let's say, then the fan will come on. When it goes below that, the fan will shut off. But the thermostats are, what I was speaking of, is on the wall.
Because these units have been here ever since I can remember, and I go back quite a ways. So.
You do.
Yeah, okay.
Back when they were boiling water with coal.
At least 100 years, right?
Well, I move the question. I'm ready to vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Resolution 23-169, to approve the hire of a deeds clerk.
So moved.
Second? Second. And discussion?
Are we filling a position or creating a position?
No, we're filling a position. Erica has become Register of Deeds.
Yeah, I know that, but so is
So
there,
her position is,
but there's no name here, like,
no, because we haven't hired anybody. We're going to put it out to hire.
oh, that's, okay, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're just, we have an open position, so we have to make the approval to go out to hire.
Okay, just reads a little bit different than that, that's all.
Yeah,
I didn't understand it, but now I do.
yeah, I know, it's, the language is not clear. But that's why we're here.
Okay.
So is there a motion?
I already did.
You have a motion.
I didn't hear that, I'm
Motion and
sorry.
a second.
Me.
Okay. Anybody have the discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Capital expenses, reserves had none, organized, unorganized territory, none, warrants. To approve the treasurer's warrants of the general fund for Somerset County Jail and UT General Fund FY '23, $34,185.72. FY '24, $82,209.49, and physical total $70,000 for the Somerset County Jail FY '23, $37,081.32. FY '24, $224,078.54. FY '24, $133,273.18. For the UT, FY '23, $40.79. FY '24, $30,280.53. TIF tax revenue, FY '24 is $20,000. TIF Community Benefit, FY '24 is $94.50, for a total of FY '23, $71,307.83, and FY '24, $559,536.24. Total FY '23 and FY '24, $631,244.07.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Just to save time, I think we could vote on this next time by just approving the total amount and then make reference to the agenda for the specifics. Can we do that, rather than have you just read all those numbers, which,
That'd help.
we're just waiting to see if you make a mistake. So,
I've done that.
yeah, I would,
I'll do that next time, just to keep you on your toes.
well, I would just make a motion for the total number as reflected in the...
As written in the agenda, right?
Let's do that next time, that's great. I like that. It is a mouthful. So, barring that, is the motion ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor? Thank you. Good.
Gotta pay.
I did have a question on one, though, that I brought up.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Maybe
go ahead.
to, maybe, like, there's a $5,000 and change payment to the town of Greenville. It looks like it comes through the sheriff's office. I can't figure out what it's for. Do we know what?
It was the stone book?
Stone Garden?
Yeah.
It's a special detail.
A what?
Special detail? It's pass-through cost. We are set up to be the hub for some of these special details. So we have like the Warden Service and Greenville PD and those submit us bills. We pay them and then we have to bill the state and the state reimburses us for that. So we're pass-through.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Lieutenant Knight's in charge of the Stone Garden details for all agencies, so they all,
What is Stone Garden?
it's a border patrol special detail to provide police services, typically along Route 201 corridor and all state highways around there, which include all the way to Greenville.
What sort of services are provided, special details?
They're police, they're just going to slow traffic down, generally traffic type related details to augment border patrols.
The border patrols do this for us?
The border patrols typically, their mission is more in line with.
Yeah, I know that, but.
Kind of stuff. Ours is more to slow all the traffic down while those people are
Right.
coming into our country and leaving our country. So that's been.
I guess I just don't get it, so.
That's been going on for 20 years, Stone Garden details. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars are earmarked for special traffic enforcement from state police, sheriff's offices, and local police agencies to provide traffic services to the federal government.
Okay, I just sort of popped off the page at me.
They're going to have fun April 8th.
Yeah, maybe I'll be saving up for that. Thank you for answering that.
I'm glad you remembered that question. That was good, thank you. Miscellaneous discussion items, commissioners only. Joel?
I'm good.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, then, we did get a notice that the county commissioners' annual meeting convention is available to sign up for, and it's going to be at the Poland Springs House. That is the 12th, 13th.
You want to ride together?
I can't go.
I guess I don't have a ride then, I can't go either.
I'll lend you my car.
That's okay. So, executive session, Title I, Section 4056A, Personnel Deeds.
So,
All, second, all in favor? Okay, we are in executive session.
I would go to one of those sometime. I can't go this year.